Welcome to Project Organizational Structures Simplified. So let's get going. PMBOK Guide has defined several organizational structures that have an impact to project management and also to Scrum Masters. Organizational structures are not unique to the PMBOK Guide or to project management. Most of us don't really care about them, but it pays to have an organization that is structured that supports the work. Otherwise, poor, misaligned organizations can negatively impact a project's outcome. So, organizations are getting more and more complicated. I'm going to show you how CEOs perceive that of the 441 fastest growing U.S. businesses found, 32% believe that ineffective organizational structures impede growth. Now that was in a survey that occurred in the year 2000. So in 1993, only 10% of the CEOs believed that that was the case with organizational structures. So now that we're past 2010, I'm questioning that it's really going up and up and up and up. Okay, well that was a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase this outstanding chart. Look like the fonts of Pink Floyd from way back. Now there are basically three defined organizational types. And I'm going to show that to you. Of course, I'm going to show you that one again. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so they range from functional on one end to projectized on the other end. And then we have a set of three different type of matrix organizations in the middle. Okay, so functional organizations were derived from a traditional operation mindset where the organizational hierarchy presides. Now here again is the project manager over here, and also could apply to a Scrum Master, and she's just tickled pink, probably to have a job. But anyways, she's over here being the project manager, and her team is composed of an engineer, another software engineer, a QA engineer, and a tester. Now, this tester doesn't look very happy. So I don't know what his problem is. But anyways, the project manager uses resources from other functional organizations. In this case, the engineering manager as well as the QA manager. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of this. I'm going to draw up this handy-dandy little worksheet. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little bit on top of this. So, what's a pro? A positive benefit of a functional organization is that it's simple. That didn't work. Let's do that again. Simple. What does it mean by simple? It's a simple reporting structure to understand. The team members report into their reporting organizations, and the project manager basically manages the resources. The other thing is that this is long-lasting. And by that I mean that it remains intact usually even after the project completes, because those folks still report in to their functional organizations. Let's talk about some negatives, some cons. Well, one big one is that you have limited authority. So if you were a Cartman and you wanted to tell folks that you need to respect my authority, it isn't going to work too well with this one, because these people fundamentally still report into their own functional organizations. The other thing is not exactly agile, and hopefully you've gotten some experience with Agile and specifically Scrum, but it's not necessarily the best for Agile because teams have more allegiance to their functional departments than to their project. Now this isn't always the case, but these are basically strengths and weaknesses of each of these organizations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase this. I think you got the idea. There we go. Okay. Now in a projectized organization, this is on the other extreme. These teams are often co-located and they work effectively for the PM for the duration of the project. So let's look at these folks. There's one person, there's another, and there's another. We're going to haul him down. I don't know why this guy's still upset. I guess he's in QA too, like the last fellow. But anyways, with this organization, it implies the project manager can use project resources to focus on the project and only that project. So let's talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses. We're going to bring back our little notepads again. And I'm going to get the right color this time when I draw. So let's talk about the positive. You do have authority. The project manager or scrum master in this particular case, if you're an agile scrum project, you do have authority. You do have a team that is highly focused because you are their sole and only priority. And this, by the way, is excellent for agile projects, this organizational structure. Now, what's a con? One obvious one is it's temporary. Great handwriting, isn't it? At the end of the project, the team is usually disbanded and often separated. Usually, the resources can't be shared. This can be an issue with highly aggressive, highly stressed organizations where resources need to be shared. They just can't be dedicated to any one function. And so this particular organizational structure lends itself to organizations that can afford the resources, which these days most of us can't. So anyways, those are the pros, those are the cons. Goodbye to our folks on the projectized organization. Okay, now let's talk about matrixed. Now there are 3 variations to the matrix organization, and you can see them right there. There's a weak and a balanced and a strong. Now matrix organizations are typically a blend of functional and productized structures, where the team's leadership is shared between the PM and functional managers. So let's go right ahead and bring up the matrix. There we go. Here a PM runs team decisions past the functional managers, and yet the PM is actually reporting into its own PM structure, oftentimes a project management office or the PMO. A PM is recognized as an important part of a team's success, while the team is reporting into their own functional silos. So the shaded folks, you can see those boxes that are a little bit shaded, but I went ahead and we're going to put a couple of folks that look really happy to be reporting into this project manager. The software engineer and the QA engineer, in this example, are reporting into the project manager, whereas the other folks, the engineer and the tester, are not. Now, I want to show that this particular project manager is a really good one. And this is what happened. The other 2 guys that are not part of this project aren't real happy because they'd rather work for the other project manager. And if you wondered, they kind of look alike. They're brothers. Actually, they're twins. Now, according to Tom DeMarco's Slack book, companies that can't justify full-time resources for their needs can definitely benefit by sharing resources among projects. They run the risk of each of the functional managers, though, not being clued in to each of the other projects. So there is a risk with this. So let's talk again about pros and cons. There, we've got that back, and we're going to hopefully have the right color as I write. So, what's a matrix pro? Shared authority. What this means is that the project manager and the functional managers actually almost co-manage the resources. This can be viewed as a negative, but if you have a good culture, a good strong culture, and there's good communication and focus on teammanship, this can really benefit everybody. And then you tend to get, as a result, really good decisions. In fact, you tend to get with these organizations that are matrix really the best decisions, because the team can be effective with getting direction from multiple sources, so long as those sources complement each other. A con, confusion. Dual bosses can be confusing, so roles must be very clearly defined. And frankly, a lot of us aren't really good at making roles very clear. And then, of course, there's yapping. And this is where there's lots of communication up and down the organization and sideways across the organizations. It can impact and can result in missteps, and it can result in lots of meetings. So, now you know.